Hello, what's going on? All right, let me pull this up. Okay. All right, so let's share screen. I'm gonna camera off a little bit. Okay. So I already looked at your chart, which is pretty rare. I teach astrology one-on-one, so sometimes my students will, I'll have like all the charts, client charts and whatnot, in my log on my software, and I'll just be like, pick one. Let's look at it a little bit. So yours is one of the ones that we looked at a little bit. So um, it's almost like it's very it's definitely a very fortunate thing because it's like it's almost like I prepare the reading, which I never really prepare. But yeah, that was like like a week ago or something. But yeah, so really interesting chart, really interesting. The big thing is this Aquarius Scorpio square between Sun and Moon, exact degree. Um, so when we combine astrology and psychology, or when I do it, I like to think about parts work, like us having us having like different parts within us that are conflict sometimes, and how to make that work, right? So the first step is, okay, you need to have the awareness of, what are these parts, right? Like, what do they represent? What are they within me? So, um, when the sun and the moon are square, that means that there's a tension between the goals of both of them, right? Between like what they both represent. And having that, I have that, by the way. And I'm constantly working on balancing out the Pisces side with the Sagittarius side and Leo that comes all with that, right? Fiery and the more, yeah. So for you, and there's a lot there. Oftentimes it's divorced parents, not always, but um, usually if you think about the overall big picture message that you would have received from one parent, it's usually quite at odds with what you receive from the other one. So, that can create some difficulty, right? Usually, yeah. So if they're not divorced, it's usually just that there's some tension there that don't they just have very different ways, but of seeing life and whatnot. And the person who has that square, they are really meant to blaze their own path, right? It kind of gives like a chip on the shoulder, um, added motivation, but it's also very difficult, right? Because it's like the feminine, your feminine part, your moon in Scorpio, right? And this is really interesting. Now I remember some things I was saying. Like your ascendant is the shell. It's like the mask that people see, your personality. So I always use the metaphor of the egg, right? If your big three is your ascendant, your sun, and your moon, the ascendant is your outer personality. It's like it's your mask, and that's the shell. That's what people see, right? That's your personality. The sun is like the masculine, but like just like the sun's more visible than the moon, it's more visible. It's the core essence of who you are. It's your identity, so people can see that more. It's the white of the egg, and then the yolk, the middle. The moon is the yolks. Yeah, the moon is the yolk, and it is the emotions, the more feminine, unconscious emotions, like all of that, right? So the emotional need of a Scorpio moon, or emotional needs of a Scorpio moon, and just the signs Scorpio and Aquarius in general are very different. Now, what's interesting though is that your ascendant is Gemini, which is an air sign like Aquarius. so on my egg metaphor, with my egg metaphor, the way that you would be seen by people, um, like people when they meet you or when they, all that, like the air signs are very, very, Gemini, Aquarius are not known for being, how do you say this? They're not like air signs are very, very social, right? Gemini risings are incredibly social, incredibly communicative. They love, they're just fun, they're just fun. They like to do a lot of things. They like to live life on the go, and being an Aquarius is also social, right? Aquarius 11th house rules friends, and um, it's really airs about perspective, this, talk, just communication in general, right? And just like ideas, being able to see other people's kind of like see life through other people's viewpoints. When you have a lot of air, you're good at being able to like see different ways of different you know realities, I guess you could say. So um the difficulty with this is that, yeah, like, so like, uh, random example, let's say you start dating someone, right? Or let's say you have a friend that you meet, they see that more airy side, that more the Gemini, the Aquarius. But and then when they get to know you, they might be like, holy shit, like I had no idea. Like there's no way I could have known that you were so sensitive and so deep. Because your Scorpio moon, Scorpio is such a deep sign. But because that's hidden, right? It's in, you know, it's the yoke, right? People only really understand our moon signs like when we really um get to know them, right? When we really show them, you can't like watch someone's, for the most part, like kind of have like a surface level relationship with someone and understand their moon sign, right? I feel like generally, like, yeah, you can guess, but generally it takes more time, and it relates to not what you want, it's what you need. So a Scorpio moon is super sensitive. They can have big mood swings. They can have, but they're here to transform on an emotional level. Um, so yeah, the inner life can be very, very intense, and very, very just up and down. So with that said, with that said, it's just difficult, because you have to always be looking out for yourself in the sense that, um, like, you're not going to come off in a way that is necessarily representative of how you truly are, on an emotional level. So, um, yeah, I always find that one interesting. I wonder if you had experiences like that, like whether it's in romantic relationships, because that can, like when people like see the Gemini, even if they're not in astrology, but they sense that energy, Gemini, the Aquarius, like, yeah, a Scorpio moon, you can sense when you get to know them, like you can sense this depth. But like, let's say you're an Aquarius moon too, right? Or let's say like you have a grand trine. Let's say your moon's in Libra, you have all the air signs. Um, you would not be as deep, you would not be as um affected. Like Scorpio moons can be very affect, like things can really affect them, they can be very, very, very sensitive, right? So and very deep, very passionate. So yeah, so the square with Aquarius, right? Aquarius is the part of you that is very social, like I said, humanitarian. I'm not going to go into everything on Aquarius. I mean, you know about your sun sign. um But the point is that, where is the clash? Aquarius, it's like I said, it goes out, it wants to meet lots of people, it wants to, like, it lives in the moment. Gemini, adds that kind of speed and versatility, like just experiencing a lot in life. But then the Scorpio moon is very private. So there's one side that's on top of that, it's like right in the midheaven, your sun. So you have a very powerful sun, a very powerful presence. Um, with Uranus right in the midheaven too. Yeah, it's really interesting. And Jupiter. So, your dharma slash career is like a big part of your life. And there's a lot of really, really good energy there. And I imagine that I imagine that the Uranus on the midheaven people are like world changers. They're here to, and it's usually like not, it's usually a path that's not necessarily like so common, right? Like their path is not always one that's so common. So hmm. But it definitely is like being in Aquarius with Uranus, your ruling planet on the midheaven. I think that yeah, just like I would not be surprised at all if you were just like a very humanitarian person, someone who wants to make a difference in the world, or someone who's just like very, very inventive, or both, just like very like you want your career slash dharma, like your big picture life to really um represent you in the sense of like you want it to really represent your what do you even call it? Like you really want your career to be a perfect like a beautiful representation of the core essence of who you are, of your identity, right? You want the world to see you for your individual self, right? Yourself that's unique, right? Because it's Aquarius and your Uranus is unique. It's someone who with the conjunction Jupiter, also someone who is very, very good at being themselves, because we live in a society where people copy each other and people are afraid to kind of like individuate, right? So for you, yeah, it's really about giving back. Now, what's interesting though is that on a karmic level, I'll get back to that, but karmically, like you're someone who's very, very powerful and who's used to forming like very strong alliances with people. And I think that like you've had a lot of success in past lives, whatever that means, right? Um, but with Saturn on the South Node, there can be I'll go camera on for a little bit. So with that placement of Saturn on the South Node, there can be in Aries especially, right? That's like the karmic tendency can be to be a very dominant, very independent, but it's also like there can be some yeah, just like someone who like Saturn is like the consensus reality, right? So it could have been that you really followed the rules, you really kind of worked within the system and were very powerful in that sense. Um, so also just like someone who's very, very hardworking, very responsible, and very capable of like working on your own and kind of like, yeah, making things happen, right? So um yeah, I was thinking about something. So the fact that it is on the south node opposite the north node, it can make one, kind of like and then Saturn, being in the 11th house, it can make one a little bit like, so it kind of goes to that Scorpio moon energy. Like Scorpio moon people would rather have, like Aquarius would have like a million friends, but then Scorpio moon part would be rather have like a few really close friends that they know that they can like really, really trust. And Saturn 11th house kind of backs that up too, because that is very much about yeah, it definitely makes them like more shy, inhibited in groups. And sometimes it can be like in the Saturn return, which for you is in a few years, that they really, really meet their like soul fan, like the real, like kind of like karmic friends, if you want to call it that. But yeah, like I think that there's something here around in past lives having like in this lifetime trying to like you're an Aquarius for that reason, in my opinion. You're an Aquarius, because Aquarius is a sign of individualization. And with Saturn on the South Node, the way I interpret that is like Saturn is the opposite of Uranus in the sense that Saturn is tradition, right? So it's like kind of like a very traditional energy. And this life with your North Node in the fifth house, conjunct Mars and Libra, not only are you here to learn compromise and learn to like, work with others and all that stuff, for a common goal, but you're it's about not having an over reliance on like it's about really taking things into your own hands as well, right? Um and creating your own destiny, not like like overly relying on, friends and just in groups and stuff like that to give you to give you like power and whatnot, right? So yeah, it's really also a lot about building a creative life, right? Like Libra is a sign of creativity. So, with Mars there, with the North Node also, it's asking you, which is it's very odd actually, because South Node and Aries people have like they're very good. Like they've mastered the PhD in being assertive, in being, independent and all that. But with Saturn, it gives it like a Capricornian feel, meaning a field that's more traditional, more restricted. But I still feel you have like this mad, like past, like boss energy, right? Um, but perhaps you were more involved in like perhaps you allow groups to um sort of groups or society to sort of, what's the word I'm looking for in English? Like not identify, to sort of like show who you are, I guess you could say, right? To Yeah. So here, it's about moving into your true, authentic self-expression, right? Which is like the inner child, which is like the metaphor would be like you're creating. Let's say you're writing poems, right? It's not for the purpose of like, or art therapy is a really good metaphor or like example of that, right? Because it's like in art therapy, you're just creating, and through that painting or whatever you're doing, um you're learning about yourself, right? So it's like creativity with Mars and North Node and Libra, I think is a big thing. But also, there's a big relational aspect. And it's about finding very, very balanced and fair relationships. Because like when you have an Aries South Node, sometimes it can make one like not willing to kind of compromise, like my way or the highway, right? Libra, so balancing those two axes is like, understanding that no one's perfect, right? Understanding that, um, that in relationships, compromises need to be made. But so I think with the Mars North Node, the way I take it is that, it's really about individual, it's kind of more about leaning into this creative purpose and leaning into this individualization in a new way, right? Um, and I think that this is a really complicated kind of equation because they contradict each other. But I think that and we'll see what the rest of the chart says. It could be about finding like these balanced relationships, but still, as an Aquarius, right, still maintaining your independence, right? So it's like perhaps in past lives you kind of cut things off too short. There's like a tendency to cut things off like too fast. And in this life, it's like give things chances, but also know that as an Aquarius, you're here to not lose your individuality in relationships. Like, so, um, and then you have your Venus with Neptune in Capricorn. So there's a lot. You'll see this chart. I remember I went through this. Like I didn't fully go through it, but like I remember like telling my client like this is a super interesting chart. Like this is a tough one. This is not an easy one. Not tough as in like you have a bad chart. Tough as in like tough to interpret. Like you get this chart read by a bunch of other astrologers, um, I don't think that they would say the same things as me. Because there's a lot of hidden stuff and a lot of connections. So yeah. So that's the journey from Libra to or from Aries to Libra, but it's really more like Aries Capricorn to Libra Aries really because it's Mars. So it's like still being assertive in the sense of like your creativity and your um like going after the right types of relationships, but understanding that um like it all goes back to the fact that Uranus on your midheaven with Jupiter and the sun, the core, like the like big thing for you is around your career, whatever that is, whatever. And a lot of times for like 11th house energy or like Aquarius 11th house energy, it it's not always evident, right? And your midheaven is in, it's in Aquarius, so sometimes it's like not always, but like I would like there can be like different chapters. Sometimes it's later in life that the big goals, and you have any Uranus squares. No, you just conjunct the sun. So yeah. But really like it kind of depends on like your process of individualization, your process of truly getting to know yourself and being able to then from that true knowledge of self, which is why your North Node's in the fifth house, because like it's important to not be a part of groups that condition you. And yeah, so from that, like being able to really make a massive contribution, like it's insane. Uranus on the midheaven. Um, but the idea of freedom in your life is so important. And with the Saturn on the South Node, I also wonder if you were very restricted like in your past lives where you just had to work so much, and because you had to work so much, um it kept you away from doing maybe the work that you would really want to do. I don't want to say one more time. So you're here in this lifetime to have freedom. It is tantamount in your life. It is so important, and that is what Aquarius is all about, right? So if we look at the rest of this and just this midheaven conjunction, it is someone who feels like they have something very unique to give society, right? And a lot of times moon, or sun Uranus midheaven, like the parents would have had a usually a good effect, um even if they have differences, which I've done readings for people with this same square moon and sun whose parents are still together, but often they're just very different natures, right? But often with that, you are helped out in some way in terms of your career by sun on the midheaven. A lot of times can indicate like a very strong father, maybe a very respected father. Esme, come here. And okay, come here, Esme. You can help me. Here's the magical kitty. She's on a weight loss journey. A lot of cats around me, and a lot of kit. There's Mika. Mika. There's the two babies. Let's see if we can get them. Hey guys. Ina. Ina. Hey, Nila. I don't know if it's even showing. Okay, I'm looking to see if it's showing. Let me flash my phone. There we go. Ina, show yourself. There's Esme. Okay, little cat break over. Turn my flashlight off. Allergies still. So yeah, sometimes there can be like with the Uranus on the midheaven, there can be um clashes with the mother or the mother's family. Not always. If there is, then the person with that would be very, have a very, and this is Aquarius in general, very rebellious, right? So they'd have a very rebellious stage in their lives. Sometimes maybe potentially even becoming a little bit lost. But anything that would have happened is it's invaluable, right? All the lessons during any times, any crazy times would have been invaluable. And just like midheaven being like your not just your career, like your dharma, but also like your just what you do on like a big picture, right? Like the stuff that if you're writing book of your book of your life, it would be like the kind of more like outer life stuff you talk about, right? So yeah, definitely very, very rebellious, wanting to, feeling that there's something very special that you have. And it could even be showing people how to be themselves, which sounds so crazy, but people do not know, right? And that can take many different forms, right? That's not just as like a healer, that could be in anything, a role model in whatever type of way. So, yeah, it's really just it's so important for you in any type of career. Like a Uranus midheaven person would struggle to have like a boss or struggle to be like in a system at work, everyday life where there's restrictions. Like they want freedom to express that uniqueness to the public, right? Um, and also there's like a real love for change and for variety. So there can be with Uranus on the midheaven, there can be a lot of sudden career changes, out of nowhere, right? And it can be, and because Jupiter's there, that's a that's a guardian angel around that. So you're very lucky. You'd be very very lucky when it comes to, and that's another indicator of potentially a strong father, just parents who I'm not going to say are wealthy or rich. It could be that, but also just who play in some kind of way a very direct role to your dharma. So besides that, it could literally be like someone who's like an inventor, or someone who is creating something brand new, because you as an Aquarius, you are a rebel, but you're someone who thinks outside the box, right? So it's really just wanting to be in charge of your own destiny. Um, and not conform to anyone else's ideas or just like how they think you should do things. So that's the very obvious career stuff. Now also there's a lot of fate involved here. And with Jupiter, it guarantees that when you're doing things, so I always talk about the physical versus the metaphysical value, right? In things we do. Like um I'll just use me as an example. Let's say I create a video, right? And let's say that 100 people watch, like out of the people that watch it, 100 are deeply touched and it actually really adds to their life, right? Um, Compared to, let's say, a post that is, I don't want to say, I'm just gonna give an example. It's more pop astrology. It doesn't really move the needle in like a very deep way, but it gets like a million likes or something like that, right? The metaphysical value is higher, obviously, in the one that truly helps change the people. But we live in a world where the one that got all the likes would, that's what we're conditioned to want. So yeah, lots of like deconditioning, but like also like just having Uranus on the midheaven, but still in the ninth house, the Jupiter ninth house, it makes you very philosophical, and it's in a way that's very, very unique. So you'd be very rebellious when it comes to ideas. Um, when it comes to truth and finding truth, I swear, like I see so many Uranus ninth house people who had like religious pushed on them early on, and they were just like, fuck no. They just were not having it. But Jupiter ninth house is an amazing placement. It's also really, really good for like it makes like traveling really, really huge for you. You can have like very like quick, like kind of out of nowhere moves, you could I'm not sure where you're living. I purposely like I don't know what you look like. I purposely by the time I do a reading, I know you have your little photo. I literally don't look at the photo. Um, I do not know what you look like. I don't know anything. I've never been on your Instagram. Like I don't like I purposely like by the time a chart comes around, I don't want to have any idea what their energy's like, just because I want to give like a completely objective experience. Then the follow up, which you got that right? Did you get the follow up? Oh, sorry, no, you have the astrocartography. My bad. But you do have. I was just reading your notes. I need to go on your IG or something. Okay, hold up. Wait at. Okay. Oh shit, I did just see your photo. Well, just the side. Not looking, not looking, not looking. I didn't see it enough to like. I just saw your hair color and your face is a little bit, not much. Okay. What was I looking for? Oh yeah, you sent me some stuff. Where the fuck is this? Might as well just double verify everything. Birth info. Okay, so you said this. Okay, I'm gonna listen to this. So I'm gonna mute. Okay, so I had no idea, even though like I just kind of remember like you have the astrophotography reading. That's why I'm getting this done. For that, you time to process it. I swear on everything, I had no idea. I just listened to your voice message, which was about moving. It was a big emphasis on that. Before I said the thing about like you can like live like that, you can have like very like just swift moves and also like lots of luck and fortune around different moves. I swear I did not like even know about that. So that's like I was just saying that because of your ninth house, which rules travel, um, long travels, moves, all that stuff, right? Along with truth. It's a Sagittarius house, and you have a lot, in whole sign, all your Aquarius energy is there. So Jupiter in ninth house, it creates this whole energy. I think moves could be something that are necessary for you, in order to get to your highest potential, right? And I'm gonna go back to the Scorpio moon stuff. Don't worry, I'm just doing my thing. Um, but yeah, so very fascinating. Um, Jupiter on the midheaven is just like one of the best placements you can have for success and career, and it just kind of tells you like it's like the gods were smiling at you, in this, like smiling down on you in this lifetime. It's such a good karmic placement. Um, it's like a queen, like it's the planet of kings and it's placed, on your midheaven, right? So you, if like you, this is like public figure type energy, right? Um, Uranus and Jupiter on the midheaven in Aquarius, it's the ability to come off in a very original way, very inventive, outside the box way, um, almost ingenious type way. But Jupiter on the midheaven makes you liked by people, by the public, right? And it gives a lot of really great opportunities when it comes to your career. Um, so it's actually usually very good for the childhood too. Like I said, like usually like one of the parents is quite high, kind of, in society, and yeah, it's just someone who is kind of pushed to explore lots of different options in life, right? And that's people have Jupiter ninth house. That's all about, and midheaven ninth house. Like it's very much about travel, right? Um, and through the traveling, your worldview and your truth, your idea of truth, which then, if you see my videos, like I talk about how your truth, right, what you consider to be true and most sacred, then goes to your dharma, to what you do, to your career, right? So, yeah, this is just very much about exploration and just blessings, and people with this, they usually get recognized for their talents, but it's really about, I think the biggest thing is about, and I'll go back to Scorpio square with Aquarius, but it's really about authenticity, right? And it's really about being able to move away, like being able to lean into that Aquarius energy, even if it, like, you should watch the video I posted today because it's kind of synchronistic actually, because it does touch on a lot of these topics. But I essentially, one of the things I say is like everything, all of the best things, I have a lot of Aquarius in my chart. All the best things I've done in my life have come when I've just done random shit, and when I didn't have people around me that were like flow killers, right? Um, and I just randomly, like, did something and then it led to something, right? So I found Romania. That's how I found astrology, right? I grew up in fucking America. So yeah. Yeah, this is very much like someone who can explore the world and get very lucky also when they go to different destinations, right? And lots of karmic destinations. So yeah, some people with that, it's favorable for marriage too, and for having someone who really supports you and supports you, in your in kind of the perseverance of your goals. The best metaphor I can give is like it's just blessed. It's like when one door closes, another opens, And um, the only thing I would say is learn, restraint, like not being too Jupiterian in the sense of like the metaphor of the person who walks in the casino and thinks they're automatically going to win, and then you uh that's it all. But yeah, so still kind of like being grounded in yourself is important, and I think the Scorpion Moon will help that. But yeah, it really is just like so talented, and it just kind of, you do what you want to do. Good fortune follows you as long as you are chasing that north node. So um and you have Vesta on your sun also, so we'll get into that a little later. But that's someone who's dedicated, and dedicated to humanity, dedicated to, like, if I this is the chart of someone who's a humanitarian, or who's really really here for society. Like, that's a lot of what I see. But sometimes, it's different of when that comes in for everyone. Um, so all right, so let's talk about this. Let's go back a little bit. So Aquarius, social, in the ninth house, spreading your wings, expanding yourself. Um, the thing is, like, let's say you're like the Aquarius, an all Aquarius person, someone who just has friends all different corners, like they're moving fast. Gemini rising, also Gemini rising is one cool thing is that you have this they tend to stay looking young. A lot of them, it's ruled by Mercury, right? So and they tend to they keep this youthful energy throughout their whole life. Like, they're just very fun people. So like, even if they when they become old, they don't like really get old. They just they stay like looking young. It's very very good for that, and feeling young. So youthful energy. But yeah, okay. So Scorpio, like I said, it's water. So it is Scorpio moon people feel things so intensely, and it's almost like water can take on the energy of other people. So imagine you walk into a big room full of people, like a some kind of cocktail party or something, right? The air loves that, but the Scorpio moon part, it's more reserved, it's more secretive, it's more I don't want to necessarily say a homebody, but it's more serious also. Like, air can kind of be a little bit goofy, Aquarius for sure, it can be very serious too, but like Scorpio, it's like very very like, if Gemini is like able to kind of have like small talk, and be in like a more light mood, Scorpio is just so intense, and it has an emotional need for depth, and for like for not like, it's kind of like a lot, like heavily Scorpio people are like allergic to small talk. So yeah, it's interesting. I think you'd be able to kind of have both. Um, sixth house moon too, so that's interesting. So the lowest thing of a Scorpio moon is need for like really needing drama, and really not like it forces one to evolve. So a lot of times the mother, like, there's some stuff, there can be some stuff with the mother. Maybe the mother had the had the individual when she was going through a really tough time. Um, Something with the birth traumatic is often something I hear. And just they tend to experience the darker side of realities earlier on in life, which then prepares them for reality itself, right? Which is lots of fucked up stuff. Um, yeah, so a lot of times it is like, the mother was experiencing some type of crisis when they're born. Um, and sometimes they experience their mother as possessive and um like overly intense. So you could see um how that with Aquarius, like, there's that conflict, right? And so how the question becomes, there's that deep emotional need, right? There's that deep emotional need, and then there's that, like, Aquarius is known to be more aloof when it comes to emotions, right? So there's a part of you that's more aloof, and there's a part of you that's so deep. So how to balance those ones out is a big question, right? Um, but I'll get a little bit more into Scorpio Moon just before that. Um, Let me think. Yeah, so obviously Scorpio Moons are very loyal, very, like, they don't want to muck around. Like, Aquarius can kind of like be a little bit less serious. Like I said, like Scorpio is more serious. Um, they can be very psychic, very very um just powerful, transformational. They're meant to go through challenges so that they can evolve. But if they push back that evolution, then they can lean into the lower side of Scorpio. My beard is the point where it's scratchy, like, ugh, I need shade. There. So like the low side of Scorpio is when one refuses to let go, right? Refuses to surrender their ego, and they can be very manipulative. They can be very low Scorpio. It's kind of like everyone knows about it, right? Using their advanced emotional intelligence to kind of get their way and just doing stuff like that. But high Scorpio, they understand that through their struggles, um, they, power is really within them. Like that's what their power is. They figure out the power is not something that you need to, and it has a lot to do with control also, right? So it's ego versus soul, and the more that you lean into that soul, the the better, right? That's what Pluto and Scorpio asks. So it really, well, the air energy can have like more, like I said, like different types of friendships, more networking type stuff, and all that. It really, well-being comes from having these deep, truthful connections, like that really where you're exploring the depths of all life. Things like astrology, psychology, all these types of topics are very interesting, right? And it's also very intimate. So this is another clash between these two. Aquarius, aloof, right? All about space. Scorpio is very, very like two souls becoming one energy. So it is that kind of balance between those two. And yeah, just that sensitivity and that depth just it can give like very intense emotional reactions, right? So yeah, the moon is considered to be in its fall position in Scorpio. So like there's basically like challenges around how one expresses their emotions, and like it just gives someone very powerful emotions, and powerful emotions can be very, you know they can, it's just important to not have them be self-sabotaging, because they can be so intense that they can overwhelm the person at times. And it's just really important, I think, for any water moon to have a level of alone time, um and just like the people that you associate with, it's very, very important, very, very important that their energy is good and all that. But it gets easier with time, like, so like a lot of times for women early in life, they swing between these extremes, right? um but they like with like, and the thing that also is that you have a sixth house moon. So people with sixth house moons, they feel their emotions on the daily level. That's why it's a tough place to have your moon, is that Scorpio moon stuff comes up daily. It's part of your daily life, like, obviously, like, so it would just make it could be very draining, but it's also pushing one towards transforming, towards that depth. There's no such thing as a good or a bad moon sign, right? Or anything. It just transforms you towards high Scorpio, which is just like the dedication. Um, it's that person who transformed, and who is very empathetic and a healer, essentially, right? And who sees everything. They have like that built-in lie detector, right? So it's really about like learning to allow strong feelings to flow through you. So like things like meditation, mindfulness, all that's really, really important. And yeah, just anything that can increase your self-awareness around just any type of, and this is like the whole point, is that's pushing you into that introspection, right? Um, but sometimes people with these types of charts, or like a chart like similar to this, like when I think about it, it's like sometimes they haven't explored the depths, and they just stay more in their air. That's a lot easier, right? But then you can't, like I said, the moon sign is the need. So Scorpio needs privacy. It needs intensity, right? It can become very obsessive. Um, it needs to be able to say all the things, like whether they're dark or whatever. It needs to be able to say everything. um, and it's intimacy, right? So, and it's also very much about, discovering the truth, the esoteric, the occult, what's hidden. So, it makes someone very, very good, like I said, with psychology, natural psychologist, knowing what other people need, being able to kind of sense it. And it can, it's not just like it can work really well in any field where like understanding and reading other people, so even business, right? Like is important. So yes, moon is six also, like six is about service also. So um it can make someone be, giving their life to service a lot and having like a very strong emotional connection to their their contribution to society. Also, you have to watch out for your stomach. Not like in a big serious way, but digestion, ulcers or something that six husbands have to look out for. And usually the digestive system is directly linked to the emotions, right? So stress, all that anxiety, worries, all that stuff, it has a direct effect on it. And it's all about relaxation and learning to take the problems less seriously, having perspective over them. So yeah. Um, Also success moons sometimes can be kind of like hypochondriacs, um, where they feel like they're always getting like sick or something too. Um, Not always, but yeah, I think like the biggest thing is, besides like the fact that like you're confronting like the Scorpio moon energy on a daily basis, is the fact that the sixth house rules our day to day, our routine, our job. So like needing to have like a daily ritual that you have like a deep emotional connection to, right? Um, so like with your physical, emotional, psychological, spiritual, all that, like that, needs to have like all those need to be hit, right? But there can be depressive tendencies too, like I said, because um it's not like chronic depression, it's just that definitely some days per month, where you'll feel lower than others. Um, so following the moon phases is really important for you, for sure. And just like looking like, okay, the moon's in this sign today, you can just search current planets on Google and you'll see. And just like no, like kind of feeling, okay, how does this moon usually affect me? How's okay, like knowing when there's a full moon, stuff like that. Um, Let me see what. So you also have moon square Uranus. So talk about that next. Um, yeah, you really just have to be really careful about your mental health because of like sixth house moon square Uranus. It can be like that. I've seen that with people with bipolar disorder or other types of kind of mental issues. Um, what else? Yeah, it makes someone very hardworking. Um, but sometimes like they can like allow, like let's say they work in a company, like everyone to put all the work on their shoulders. So it's really important to not allow that, right? And as a Mars North node, you're meant to really, be able to have your own back and to be assertive and to create strong boundaries, right? Because Libra Mars sometimes can lack boundaries and it can be very, very much like kind of wishy-washy, like so indecisive and really not wanting to, like the people pleasing aspect of it is like when it doesn't want to like rock the boat, um it might like allow itself to be put down just to balance out the energy. um so putting someone else up, putting itself down. So that's something, it's really, really important for Libra Mars to be to lean into that Aries, right? That South Node energy. So yeah. Um yeah, so having something you're doing that's really connected to your emotions, right? So as a Scorpio moon, you want to dig deep. You want to dig deep. You want to understand the undercurrents of the world and of of your life and all that. So makes sense. So with the moon and Uranus, right? So moon square Uranus is definitely an aspect that it enables someone it can, especially the Scorpio moon, it can really make the moods go upside, like up and down very quickly and out of nowhere, right? Like rapid mood swings, right? So it also gives like this compulsive need for stimulation, which the Gemini rising also matches. So it's definitely a fun life, you know? But yeah, like I think that definitely in relationships, like moon square Uranus, you'll need freedom. So even if there is a deep need as a Scorpio moon, we'll get into like the Venus stuff and all the love stuff in a little bit. Even though there is a deep need for, passion and depth and almost like soulmate energy, like two souls kind of coming to one, that's like the Scorpio moon for that real, real closeness and intimacy. Um, there's also a need for space, like I was saying earlier, right? Still keeping yourself. Um, Moon square Uranus can, so this is interesting because a Scorpio moon does not have is like very, very, very loyal, but square with Uranus can create you know almost like a compulsive desire to want the new, the shiny, like to kind of like um be easily distracted and be very emotionally impulsive and want change. So it could even be like relationship types that are more alternative that could work better. Um, but yeah, it's just like a moon square Uranus. People are just very rebellious, and sometimes they can have like trouble maintaining long-term emotional relationships, friendships, whatever. Um, and usually, like, yeah, one of the parents was like more detached. In this case, one of the like, there's a lot of time, like I don't know, because I've seen this play out in different ways. But a lot of times, like with this type of thing, it's like one parent would have been like really intense, really strict. The other one would have been like really overly detached. But I don't know. It doesn't feel correct to me. Um, but yeah, definitely a very unorthodox. So like if your parents were divorced, like it could have been like moving around a lot, in childhood. Um, and then it gives you this ability in life to be very mutable with your energy and to kind of move around. But yeah, the struggle in relationships is between emotional nurturing, right? Like the Scorpio stuff, and independence and detachment. So it's like, how do you find that balance? Um, like too much of one, none of the other can cause issues in relationships, and yeah. So yeah, like I think like it just goes back to the importance of grounding and of being able to have mindfulness in your life. And let's say thing happens, stimuli, take it in, feel it in, then react. Not stimuli, react. Um, but yeah, like Moon square Uranus can just make someone like especially already in Scorpio, like exactly what to say to really fuck people up. So with the squared Uranus, there could have been times where maybe you just like like had like an impulsive like boom and said something and then you're like fuck like I went a little bit hard there. It was a little bit fast. Um so yeah, that's important to learn to really slow down and not fall into that trap. But yeah, it's really entertaining. People who have that are just like very entertaining people. their lives are interesting and not, that they're very different than the average. And it's also very, very actually like one thing like real estate, like being a homemaker is something that works well with this type of thing, this type of aspect. But I think it just once again speaks to that need to be your own person, that need to not conform. So moon square midheaven and sun, like it all comes together to show that your dharma, like let's say you're like, okay, argue like just random example, hypothetical. Let's say like you're someone who's like you lead this like big nonprofit or like like real charity. You're really passionate about your cause, or you're some type of like healer. Let's say you're an astrologer or you're doing human design, whatever, right? And you're a big deal, or you're just not, you're just killing it, right? So because you're killing it, a lot of people want to be around you. That's the square between moon and midheaven. Um, it's that, you know, the Scorpio needs time alone. It needs to get away from it all. And if it doesn't, it can combust, and then the lower side of Scorpio can come out. Also, with moon square midheaven, a lot of times the emotions are likely, um, to have a big effect on your choice of career. Um, so once again, it's about not pleasing, your parents and really doing what is linked to you and your own needs. Um, so sorry, I keep scratching my nose. Allergy shit's fucking annoying. Um, what else can I say about that? Yeah, so just like the need to like really feel like emotionally, like it can create some issues between your big picture life, your dharma, career dharma, like outer life, and your inner life, right? So it's really important to have like an emotional connection to what you're doing. And also, to really feel like if you're working like in a company or something like for your day to day to really feel right emotionally. Because the Scorpio moon, it needs to feel safe, it needs to feel secure, it needs to feel like kind of grounded, right? So yeah. And I think like last thing I'd say about that is like, yeah, just the more that you feel like you're kind of steering your life in that correct, very like you like individualistic, true to you direction, the better you feel. Um, okay, so yeah, so then of course like Gemini rising, Mercury rules the chart. So Gemini rising, like I said, you guys are talk a lot. Just joking, my girlfriend's a Gem rising. But you guys just like to experience, you know. You guys are, and that's another thing with the like start kind of leaning into love stuff is that energy, um it can, yeah, like I already kind of said it, like you're North Node in Libra, you're trying to have very fair, peaceful relationships where there's compromise, where and like getting past some kind of like karmic tendency in that respect. Um, so yeah, Gemini risings, your hands, doing things with your hands is really good. Just very flexible, very adaptable, like you approach life in that kind of mutable way, right? Go with the flow. And just very, yeah, all about stimulation. So, a lot of people with Gem risings, they don't really settle in one place for that long, and they just love, yeah, exchanging ideas, communicating, all that stuff, right? So, yeah. So, okay, rules Mercury, with your Venus. in Capricorn. So yeah, I mean, eighth house Mercury makes you really want to, in Capricorn makes you really want, your mind really wants to go deep, you know? You want to find the meaning of life deep, you know, eighth house Mercury. I have an eighth house Mercury, right? So interested in anything related to sex, death, the esoteric, the occult, any subject that delves beneath the superficial, your mind is interested in. And then Mercury in Capricorn makes you like more of a careful thinker, logical, right? So it's good to have logic, right? Because there's a lot of fluff and bullshit out in like the spiritual world and just like out there in general. Eighth house could also be like conspiracy kind of that kind of stuff, you know, like just like the truth about the world, right? So yeah, it's like I think like Capricorn Mercury's they definitely approach you know, new ideas with caution and just believe something right away. Now, is it say it's conjunct? No. No, Mika. Um, so Mika, no, stop. So, okay, with love, Pluto on the Descendants, very, very interesting. That is very interesting. So should I start there? Okay, so love breakdown, right? Um, Scorpio moons, all about the soulmate, all about that closeness. I've already kind of detailed that enough. Um, Now there's a split here in your chart that will you know that will reflect in your love life. You have very beautiful Venus that is you know making nice aspects to Mercury and to Neptune, so it's those three together. So that can make you like an amazing artist. I would be surprised if you're an artist because you're able to take like Neptune conjunct Venus is the best aspect for artists because it combines inspiration, imagination, Neptune with Venus, which is like the actual act of performing and creating the art, right? So those two are together, they're fused together. But then when it comes to love and even like self-love, there can be issues with seeing oneself clearly and one's seeing one's value clearly, especially early in life. So um it's interesting, right? Because like the Venus is in Capricorn, which usually Venus and Capricorn people like to date older, more mature. Um, they want to really build a solid foundation in relationships. And your Juno is in Aries, right? So then that's like your ideal mate. Um, 11th house Aries. So that's like it's really this mix of of you know, someone who you can go to those dark places with and transform with, who can understand your really deep side. That's a need, right? I think like someone who like didn't have that ability to truly listen to you and truly like like I just don't think it would work for a Scorpio moon to be someone who doesn't have a level of depth. There's no sign they have to have. They just have to be able to like on some level understand that Scorpio moon energy, right? And the square with Uranus and just that other energy, you know, like that as an Aquarius, like that creates someone who needs, you know, who needs freedom and who need, especially because your career, your dharma is so important to your mission this lifetime. Um, you know, you're very good at giving space. So you appreciate with your series in Aquarius, you appreciate people who are also able to give you space. But you're also very like, yeah, very, very big nurturer too. But it might not always be obvious. I'm the same way. Like I'm mm, like in the sense like I have Venus and Mars and Aquarius, so I'm very, very like I need more space than any dude probably ever. Um, but like being able to communicate like that has been the you know the game changer, right? I'm all about like I believe in like sleeping in your own bedroom. I believe in a bunch of stuff called, called the Aquarian relationship. Um, but yeah, so with that, we'll bring these all together. Venus with Neptune in love, watch out. It's not bad, but it makes one yearn for romance so much, and they can seek the ideal perfect partner, and they can turn down people. So that goes back to your North Node in Libra. It's about compromise. It's not saying, settle. It's just saying, like get out of like fairy tale land, right? That's like Neptune and Venus, like that's where you gotta be careful, right? Also, I want to say I want to backtrack a little bit, like about the creative stuff I was talking about, because I just thought of something. Um, the fact that's in the eighth house could mean that you could have like secret creative talent. Um, like you might be a really good singer or painter, but like it might be something that's more secretive that you're not like public about. So I just want to put that in there. Okay. Um, so yeah, people with Venus Neptune, they can become very disillusioned with any kind of imperfections. And they can kind of like seek solace in that fantasy world, right? Of like, oh, this person's gonna come and save my life. So it's all about facing the reality. And trust me, I struggle with this shit too. Not that you struggle with it. I struggle with it. Um, just like learning to face the reality that everyone's imperfect. You know, you and others, and that compromise is needed, but you can still communicate your way around and have something that works for you, right? Also, like with that energy, so that it makes you really value like wanting to like share like some kind of artistic creative pastimes with the partner, with a partner. um and yeah, it's just like, yeah, it's just the difficult part comes in. And then you have Venus conjunct Jupiter too, so that's just like, you know, if you check my stories from today, like I literally like was answering like posts. I did like a question thing. I was answering some of the people like saying their favorite placements, and you know, I said something about Venus and Jupiter, like how that's like the most amazing. Like you have it conjunct, so it's just like like it's very good for popularity. It creates like an amazing like aura around that person, right? So, um, yeah, just someone who like loves to kind of like um have goals and complete them, and share their philosophies and their adventures and all that stuff with other people, right? And they really are very generous. It creates like a very generous energy. um so the only thing with that is like, and it creates lots of luck and money, luck and love, luck and money and love, but also just like the need to not be overly indulgent, you know Um, but also Jupiter on Venus gives luck when it comes to relationships and to meeting the right partners. Um, and it's also very good for art. Um, right? It makes one, it expands. So it expands your ability to create. So you have so much stuff for an artist or a creative of whatever, right? Um, one sec. Yeah. So when you put those together, like I think that the Jupiter with Venus, it actually gives you the ability to have more of a perspective of any of that like Neptunian kind of like fog that can kind of show up. But with the Neptune Venus, it's like when you are being of service or when you're doing something that you really love, when you're finding that real purpose, uh, especially if it's related to like helping making like a very unique like contribution to society, whatever, then it becomes a lot easier for you to kind of see yourself clearly. But sometimes people with the Venus Neptune, they have difficulty seeing themselves in a clear way. And yeah, just Pisces shit. Yeah, Venus and Jupiter, I mean, I already saw that you're gorgeous. Like I'm not gonna lie to you. You're like, I mean, your photos gorgeous. I'm just telling you. um but even if I didn't say that, I would say that Venus and Jupiter together, it creates someone that's very beautiful. And if it's not beautiful in that sense, it's just like a very, very warm, aura. And here's Esmond. So yeah, it makes someone, yeah, more peaceful. So like I think like the Scorpio moon can kind of get like this can really help out the Scorpio moon. So let's pull Esme in. She's gonna look at we do this magic thing. So Esme, you're gonna look at the chart, look at something I'm supposed to look at. Let's do it. Let's see what she does. Esme, look. No, my girlfriend fucked it up. God damn it. You messed it up. I'm in the reading and Esme's about to do it and you knocked and you distracted her. It's a big deal. Huge deal. Huge, huge deal. Esme, relax again. Okay, now I have to pet her. Okay. Okay, Esme, do this thing. Do this thing. Look at the planet. Okay, she looked at the Pluto. She looked at the Pluto descendant. So I was gonna talk about that. Thank you, Esme. I was literally just about to get into that. Mm. So okay. So Pluto on the descendant with all this other energy, right? So it's like a lot of times people with that their darkness they find their darkness through their romantic relationships, but they're also the romantic relationships. So that's the battleground through which one is meant to transform. But a lot of darkness can come through that, and yeah, so it just creates very transformational relationship and like lots of growth within them, but it's like Pluto's the darkness. So it's like so if someone has, let's say they have like issues with their mom and dad or something like psychological like that from childhood, a Pluto seventh house person might take it out and project onto their partner, right? But it definitely creates a level of intensity in romantic relationships. Bust open. Look at this book that I wrote a while. Hold up, hold up, hold up, hold up. See that right here. Look at seven there. 11, 8. He's at the very start. Is it right here? Yeah, that page broke. My cat bit it off. So Pluto the seventh. So yeah, deep and compulsive, unresolved issues, emotional and psychological from past lives and from deep within the unconscious to be played out in close one-on-one relationships. Right, exactly what I said. Often romantic. Can also be like partnerships, like BFF relationships. The key issue becomes understanding the self through the mirror of others. There's a need to transform how one is in love. Perhaps they abandoned or were abandoned in the manner that romantic relationships ended. A lot of unresolved issues come up and show themselves in these close relationships, and the work such growth is in not giving up, but fighting through the issues, knowing that they are projections, or there could have been codependency issues. Either way, a healthy relationship is needed where both can trust slash be free in their secure relationship. Um, so yeah, fighting through the issues, knowing that they're projections, um, and transforming, going through death, rebirth, transformation. So you could have, like a lot of like relationships where each one kind of grows a part of you more and more. Okay, moving forward. So yeah, so then having this like yeah, so when that's very very Scorpio. So that adds that Scorpio part, right? That intensity that need to transform. Um, then with the North Node in Libra, that's like at the same time wanting to have a relationship where there's not a power dynamic, right? Where it's very where it's even, right? where there's not like these power games and all that shit, right? Like very, very fair. And um, and then all the Aquarius and the Gemini, like that is the part of you that also values friends a lot. You value friends, and with the and socializing, right? And keeping your own self. So having a relationship with the moon square, Uranus, a relationship where yes, you can have that intensity and that transformation, but also you're not feeling like you're like completely engulfing yourself. And that can be a challenge, right? Um, so yeah, making sure you don't fall towards codependency, because in Aquarius you're really not trying to do that. And definitely something that doesn't get in the way of like, your your creative goals and your dharma goals. So something, yeah, like I know, yeah. So then the last thing I would add to that is Juno, which represents kind of like our ideal partner. It's in the 11th house in Aries. So a Juno in Aries, and that's kind of like Juno's like marriage, it's like a deep, deep level. So it could be an energy you're very attracted to, because of its independence, because of its forthrightness, um, and someone who has goals, someone, and that kind of goes with the Venus in Capricorn too, is like someone who has goals. Um, so when you add like Venus and Neptune, and yeah, someone, and like also like yeah, Juno in Aries is like someone who adds excitement to your life, right? um and Juno in the 11th, it also makes it important for you to have like you know to socialize with your partner, have a partner who can be in the same groups and go out with you, and you can do social things with them, right? Like a socialite type of thing. And also being very good friends with your partner, right? That's also like the Mars and air. Um, and yeah, once again, yeah, Juno and Aries, like, yeah, just like the need for freedom within your relationships, and how one can be very impatient if they're denied that. And what can happen is if you do not express your need for independence, what can happen is you can attract a very dominant partner. So that's huge. So weird when you get a message from someone that you just talked about today. Crazy, happens all the time. Okay, moving forward, let's see. Okay, so yeah, that's okay. So then we look at the Venus and Neptune, and just how how I like, just like making sure, like, yes, you're ideal, you're romantic, you're an idealist. Um, just take your time with stuff. Um, like like tendency towards romantic love can make one like very vulnerable to having their heart broken and being disappointed. Especially because you show the air, which isn't emotional, but deep inside is that Scorpio moon, right? So you can like expect others to return like your level of loyalty and love and passion, and then um they don't, right? So it's about tackling like the tendency to over idealize, right? And maybe even like ignore red flag, stuff like that, right? And yeah, like I said, like it gives amazing musical, artistic, creative talents. Also very, very psychic, like yeah, just really like yeah, really nice one. So with Neptune in the eighth on its own, that is really, really good for like metaphysical pursuits, and being able to really sense like the emotional undercurrents, kind of like your Scorpio moon. So it's a very strong placement. And even Venus in the eighth. Another thing about that is it can bring secret love affairs, and with Neptune they can be very unclear. Like secret, like not like affair, like you're cheating, but like like can bring like love that has to remain secret for whatever reason. Yeah, Venus in the eighth, it's like very good for esoteric studies and for wanting to go beneath the surface. And yeah, like it can make Venus and Capricorn can make one more shy in relationships, or like maybe not shy, but like wanting to really build them slowly. But then the Neptune can make someone just like, oh, I'm in love, let's get ready tomorrow. So it's about finding the balance between those two, right? And because like Venus, Capricorn wants to really form long lasting. It's Saturn ruled Venus, like long lasting relationships, committed, very committed. But also, like I keep saying, and also Venus and Capricorn is very good for money. But with Neptune, you have to watch out for and this is Neptune the eighth also, like you could be blessed with like inheritance or like like marrying rich or something like that, right? Not like in a gold digger way. I always have to add that in there, like just karmically. But with Neptune conjunct Venus, Venus rules spending as well. You will be responsible with your money, but you have to watch out for like scams. You have to watch out for who you trust, right? Especially when it comes to contracts. Really, really make sure like any kind of contract is read over very well. So yeah. Another thing with Neptune eighth house is like you can like you just are a strong receptor of spiritual currents. So like it's kind of like the double-edged knife of like, yeah, you can feel the good and the bad, right? And feel also like kind of like self deception, and but yeah, it definitely gives one the ability to feel like unconditional love for humanity and even through relationships. Um, Neptune eighth house never get into debt. Like it's really bad for like taking any kind of loans or just debt in general. Um, if there is ever a situation with inheritance, make sure that the lawyers are like that you really, really pin down the right lawyers. Um, what else? Yeah, it can just create like a very secretive partner who might, and the partner could misuse the finances. That's another aspect of that. But yeah, very, very, very talented with the occult with that. But you have to watch out for for getting for the energy vampires. Um, right? So some people with eighth house Neptunes, they like get used, and I don't know, they have to like really watch out for that. Because they give such unconditional love that that can sometimes be a bad thing, right? So you have to really watch out not to poison yourself. So like alcohol and drugs, definitely like stay away from them. Or at least like if you're using them, just don't take them too far. Um, because like a Neptune eighth house person could have like substance problems, but they're really good at hiding them from the world. So I'm not saying that's you. I'm just saying. Um, mm, yeah, so it's like learning to distinguish like friend from predator, from energy vampire, and really taking your time with people. Okay. So you're definitely like a very, very good plotter. Good with strategy, good at like kind of like it's like chess, playing the game of chess in life, right? Um, so with the placement, okay, so you have Venus square Chiron, that's the other hard aspect, and Mars opposite Saturn. So Venus square Chiron is the last thing I'll say about love. Well, basically, um it creates like emotional pain in relationships. Um, and it can make one just like have difficulty like experiencing the joy and beauty of intimate relationships, and just like especially early on. And it really kind of goes back to what I was saying, like the need to face childhood feelings of rejection or any kind of like darkness from before. And that will have a direct effect on the relationship. But yeah, Venus square Chiron can be a rough one. It can really, yeah, it can really just like bring up a lot of pain in relationships, really bring up a lot of pain. And it definitely gives one empathy. So it's good for a healer. But um, yeah. But the good part about it yeah, it makes them very like, like I was saying, like very sensitive to the needs of other people. Um, but yeah, there is that like lots of trauma potentially, or just lots of challenges rather, around finding your self-worth in relationships. So yeah, a lot of times it is linked to like some kind of fear of abandonment. Um, but like one of the best things in your chart is using all these like artistic talents and gifts you have to process your emotions and to heal your wounds. So um, yeah, and then like as you heal yourself, Venus square Chiron can turn into like someone who has very healing relationships, or like their relationships are very very healing, and yeah, so it's harder early on. Um, so Mars in Libra, like I said, it can be very wishy-washy, indecisive. So it's really important to have like a constitution of Sophia, um, where you're just like, this is what I believe in. This is um basically making your decisions based off of I'm not saying write up an actual constitution, but really have some like your morals and ethics, all that really really dialed down, so you're able to kind of make your decisions based off of that. But Mars in Libra, the struggle is boundaries. um Now Scorpio moons are usually quite good with boundaries, I would say. Yeah. A Mars or Pluto ruled moon, there's that emotional toughness and intensity, right? And as Aquarius, it's also, not like a pushover sign at all. Um, but yeah, like yeah, I think just like being too nice, stuff like that. And sometimes Mars and Libra people can use passive aggressiveness because they can have trouble like expressing their assertiveness, and then boom, then passive aggressive. Um, so yeah, like Mars opposite Saturn, the amount of like the most successful clients that I have is like so many of them have Mars conjunct or opposite or square Saturn. And it's because it makes it for the first 30 years the person has to work really fucking hard. Like they go forward, the universe pushes them back. For some kind of reason, usually it's associated with violence or sex. It's like you really have to work hard to get what you want out of life. And everything with Saturn gets easier after Saturn return. But yeah, there is a certain level of like frustration and disappointment that, comes before really fulfilling the desires that you have. And like so many celebrities have it. It's just like boulders in front of your path, and you're just like, what the fuck? Like really feeling blocked by things, but it builds perseverance, right? So a lot of times it's like another person or like something external because it's in opposition. It's a lot of times like a fated event that blocks your path, and you're just like, what the fuck? So a lot of times anger comes out, right? Um, and so that a lot of times anger, frustration, and like just giving up, kind of like being like, fuck this shit. So the key, especially with Mars and Libra, is to learn to deal with anger in a very good way. Because the Scorpio moon, they can hold things in forever, right? And be like very vengeful. And Libra Mars would prefer to avoid any fighting. So, yeah, just learning to like let anger out, because like there's a tendency to hold on to it for too long. So, yeah, I think there's like a good mix of like patience and action with that, right? Well, I guess like it can like Saturn, that's more like with moon, but like it can create like depression or like as a result of like feeling blocked and feeling like why does this keep happening, like so it's really important not to let like negativity get a hold of you. Just like really working on your self-esteem, having like a very solid routine, physical exercise, stuff like that. And martial arts could be something really good because it's like a physical activity that teaches like self-discipline, has like a spiritual aspect to it and a mindfulness aspect to it. And yeah, so like a lot of times there's like when you're young, it could have been issues with like authority figures, whether it's the dad or people, teachers at school, whatever, right? Um, so 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 yeah, like what ends up happening with that is that the person keeps fighting through, and then they become like a master when it comes to discipline, perseverance, having patience, and just determination in general. So yeah, that one is nearly done, or like that, not nearly done, but it's nearly, it's your Saturn aspects get a lot easier post Saturn turn. And then the rest of the aspects are just really good. Venus with Neptune, it makes you able to like really express yourself in a very loving manner, really pump people up, really enjoy talking to people, very good listener, good exchange of like listening and talking, really, really good and socially intelligent. And Mars trying the sun, just being able to express yourself with confidence, yeah, just being able to express yourself with confidence, and there's a lot of energy there to achieve your goals. And it's very like good for like leadership roles and sports also. So yeah, having like positive outlets for this energy is very, very, very good. And yeah, you just have like you're a leader, Sun Uranus people are leaders, and they're also just some of the most interesting. I love Sun Uranus people. Like they're just like aliens in the best way possible, right? Um like they just are like so not like anyone else, and they just don't care. Um and life is just always just so wild and full of surprises, and a lot of times they're very genius and very just interesting people. Um, and like I was saying before, like they have a very specific life purpose. So don't get dissuaded if you don't know what that is yet. Um, because I'm positive that, you know, yeah. So even like the way you dress, right? Like, or the way your natural features, they'll be like so unique, right? You really stand like Sun units really stand out from a crowd, right? And then Sun with Jupiter, mm, just outside of it. But yeah, so yeah, I've talked about all this stuff already. Just like just change being like such a big theme in your life. Um, and just being a maverick, being someone who's just not like others. And it's like I guess like the most important thing for this is just like learning to be comfortable with your uniqueness. Um, and just like that. This is the chart of a trendsetter, you know, a visionary. So just like I literally made a video about that, right? About like watch my new video if you want to. Like I talked about I'm wearing a green shirt, this shirt in it. And just like about how like the biggest things I've done in my life came from me being a random weirdo, pretty much. Um, and just like the importance to not have flow killers around you. Also, like, yeah, you're super like genius and like intuitive, so like you can have this like intuition that can like really like these flashes, these downloads when you close your eyes. So being able to quiet the brain is super important. Because like you can just have these things. But yeah, just your life, like sudden things can happen, out of nowhere. Um, so yeah. And usually with any health problems that like they can just occur suddenly, but they can also just like go away as quickly as they came, you know? And it can be like let me think, like muscle spasms, stuff like that. So yeah. Okay. So, ooh, I did not see that. So you also have Venus conjunct Uranus. It's a very wide orb. It's barely making it. It's 8.05. But with that conjunction, we use the wider orb. But like it backs up what I've been saying nonstop. Like just that determination to like keep your individuality within relationships, and just having that real sense of freedom and really valuing that freedom. But also like, Venus is what we value. So you value, you know, spirituality and Neptunian stuff too, right? Neptune Uranus. So yeah, you're probably an alien. Um, but yeah, it can make someone like, yeah, like get very restless and bored in like traditional relationships and they want fun and stimulation. So sometimes they can change partners a lot, right? Because yeah, so it's things I've said already. Okay, moving forward, what else we got? Okay, talk about that. So part of fortune in Pisces, the 10th house, that's literally saying that like that's like your greatest joy. It's kind of like your flow state, I guess you could call it. Like where it falls in your chart. It's not an actual planet. Um, so I would say in Pisces, your greatest joy comes from when you're really able to it's in the 10th house, find spiritual unity, right? And find compassion in your life and oneness and really feeling connected to the whole. Um, so yeah, you're like when you're really giving compassionately to humanity, that's like, some area that is really kind of great for you. And your life just kind of feels amazing and all that. And 10th house, it's like about just like, yeah, like achieving your worldly goals brings you that joy. And it's very good for having success. But it's, really important to like overcome, childhood inhibitions and issues to get there. Um, okay. So, okay, more with like the fatedness of your relationships. Venus trine North Node, that just shows how destiny plays such a role in your romantic relationships. That and it's a trine, so it's a very good one, right? So I would be very surprised if you had. I mean, my guess is that you had maybe some tumultuous relationships early on, but by now, it's probably like like destiny plays a huge role, and it's a trine, so it's like past life partners or partner, whatever you want to say. Is that or that's the yeah. Um, And for an Aquarius, you're very good at expressing love and affection, right? Because the nurturing asteroid series is with Venus. So yeah, it makes you very compassionate. And yeah, being a Scorpio moon, you have that locked down. Now, do you have fire? So no fire in your chart. So when you don't have fire in your chart, it can be a little bit difficult in terms of personal plans. You have your south node there, so I see it so much. Um, Maybe that's something you conquer in a past life. Um, so you might not have a problem with that, but people who don't have fire, a lot of times there's difficulty with finding passions. But air you have, and that's masculine. So with all that Uranian, like it's like thunderbolt energy, I don't think it's probably a big problem for you. But fire, people who have a lot of fire, they're just very fiery. They just like start this, start that, so passionate about this, but like sometimes the flame can burn very fast and they can get bored easily. But I'm not worried about that with your chart. Your South Node, the karmic past tendencies in the sign of Aries. I also think a big karmic thing for you is like letting go of any like artistic creative inhibitions and allowing yourself to just flow in a creative way. And also you could have like destiny with children. I don't know if you have children, but like you have your vertex and your north node in the fifth house. So yeah, you get picked up. And also moon in the sixth house, one of the best things for healing is animals. Yeah. Okay. So Vesta, yeah, Vesta with your son, that's very, very important. How close is it? Let's see. 1.15 is nearly just a degree. So that's like what we find most sacred. It's like kind of like linked to work, but like the more fun type of work that we, want to do. So yeah, that just suggests um just like how is this? Like daily rituals and your kind of like day-to-day life is very, very important, but also just like how you um like your own well-being, right? Is super, super important. So it's really, it kind of just backs up what I was saying earlier about like looking after yourself in a daily way with, whether it's meditation, exercise, therapy, massages, whatever the fuck. Um, and it's just saying, that's the in Aquarius, right, with your son. Um, that's just speaking to how you be very, very attached to your work and you want to have fun with your work. You want your work to be very sacred to you, right? And a big part of your identity is your work. Um, doesn't define you, but yeah, like very committed to like humanitarian, even political, um, causes. So yeah, that's just like someone who's just like really dialed in with career. Um, so also like one way you nurture yourself with series of ninth house is like through the more knowledge and wisdom that you acquire about through your travels or and through your metaphysical, like this is a metaphysical travel or metaphoric, excuse me, like different philosophies, stuff like this, or physical travel, different cultures, all that. So that's really one way that you really nurture yourself. And also by being around people, right? But of course, it has to be the right people. And you feel really nurtured. And this is another thing with relationships when your own sense of independence and space is your individuality, all that is like is pushed, encouraged, whether it's by friends or partner. Um, and yes, like someone who can like teach other people to accept their eccentricities, right? I said that earlier. So, anyways, yeah, Palace is with your Mercury, so like just eighth house Palace, like very strong intuition, and you want once again you want to go deep. You're able to probe into the mysteries of life. Um, and yeah, you're very that's very good for intelligence having those two together. Um, yeah, just a mind that kind of copes well with the more logical, but also the more abstract. Um, okay, so Chiron in Scorpio, interesting. In the sixth. So first thing with Chiron in the sixth is there can be feelings of like suffering from feelings of like physical inadequacy. Sometimes it's like as a child there could have been some like something some kind of injury or sickness or some like or just like some kind of some kind of pain like emotional also. So your sixth house is like your everyday life, right? So your search for self-healing can actually make you like a healer. So, like you healing yourself can actually make you a healer for others on like a daily basis. where you're like teaching healing techniques or like whatever that is. Like you're someone who can become a healer. Now in Scorpio, once again that speaks to what I said before. You see how I'm saying all these things that mimic other things. So that speaks about how like in intimate relationships, there's pain there. Um, and also it could have been like a perinatal trauma as well, as I said earlier, with the Scorpio moon. Um, so it's that actual pain though that prompts you to delve deep into the mysteries of life and you know really like all these different eighth house topics, right? So and yeah, it's someone who can like uh teach others and heal others, and very, very good for being a spiritual healer, and someone who's like gonna probe into the metaphysics for their own healing. And then yeah, so Mars in the fifth house, that just gives like I'll add to that, like like our Mars in Libra, the best is like the diplomat that can be the person that's in the middle that people come to, all that, um when there's a dispute. But then at the same time in the fifth house, that's that deep drive to express yourself creatively. um so yeah, the last thing, Black Moon Lilith, or actually let's pull up the asteroids and the fixed stars. Yerba mate. Finally, there's a brand in here in Europe. Eastern Europe. So yeah, Black Widow and Leo. Is in the third, but fourth. Okay, so that's interesting. You could have issues with neighbors. A lot of people with the third house, Black Widow, have like issues with neighbors or siblings. But Placidus would be fourth house. So you know, I would say Leo, Black Lilith. Black Lilith is like, it's not a planet. It's not something like that you have. Um, but it's like you at your lowest vibration. So Leo, I think it would be like the potential for being overly like self-involved. You know how Leo can be a little bit like the low Leo can be like kind of narcissistic. Um, it can be one who kind of like creates drama for no reason, right? Which is also in line with the Scorpio moon, like just creating drama just for the sake of it. Um, so yeah. There is that great drive to accomplish a lot. But sometimes they believe that like being a high achiever is like the only way to get love and admiration. A lot of times, with this, there's like emotionally unavailable parents also, that's another, weren't able to give that unconditional love, especially like the father. Um, or the father was like very domineering and dictatorial, right? It's tough to say. Where like love had to like be earned, right? Or like one of the parents was like that, the Scorpio Plutonian one. So a lot of people with this can like underestimate themselves, and it can kind of make it so self-confidence doesn't come so easily. So they might try to like, yeah, like they might be like, kind of going extra a little bit. Like they want attention. It's interesting. It's like on one hand, like they want the attention, but then they're also afraid of it. Um, so sometimes it can indicate that like the need for for attention was blocked early on. Um, so yeah, it's just like a wound around self-confidence and being in your inner child. So yeah, like it can kind of be like someone trying to overcompensate by being arrogant, insecure. Um, so yeah. But the best part about Black Love is that if it's something that shows up, like it's something that's able to be transformed. But yeah. like very, very good, like makes someone very charismatic, attracted to the opposite sex, kind of glamorous, you could say. So yeah. But a lot of times it also creates kind of like a wound in terms of like the like the relationship with masculine energy, right? So maybe like with men in general. And one other thing I'd say, yeah, yeah, there can just be like an obsession with status. Um, and like it all goes back to that potential fear of like feeling worthless if they don't achieve something. It's all about, understanding that, yeah, that true worthiness doesn't need to be earned by anything, right? So, yeah. Um, and yeah, the fact that it's in the fourth, like that could just like indicate, just like family life being difficult and kind of some difficult karma in that area. Okay, so you have Lilith, the asteroid, yeah, on your Mars. So that's one of the three witch asteroids, so that's activated. So that means you're a witch. And let's see. So then three, there's Black Lilith, there's Dark Moon, Waldemat. Um, that one's rising. So that would be kind of like watching out for like the lower energy of Gemini to come through. Warning about that kind of like which would be linked to gossiping, lying, being too kind of like giving up on things too easily, like if it comes to romance or whatever, stuff of that nature, right? Flighty, trying too many things at once and just like not following through. That's the kind of stuff we're talking about. So So you have your Urania on your Saturn and your South Node. So you may have been a astrologer in a past life, and you might have there might be like a lot. And if you're ever interested, I teach astrology 1-on-1. I'm like I love doing it. I have maybe one slot open. I have like packages. But yeah, you have Urania on your Saturn and your South Node, so that could be something that could be very healing to you. Whether yeah, you're just dabbling in it, or like learning astrology is like the best thing ever because it's like it just makes everything make so much sense. I'm not gonna go into that spiel right now. Okay, just FOMO hot with Part Fortune. Ooh, and then what's this? Arrows on your sun. So that I mean, I already saw that you were very beautiful. So um yeah, that just that and it's on your midheaven too. So yeah, that like I would have said that without seeing. I barely saw your photo though, so I don't really fully know. And then Altair with Jupiter. Yeah, Eros. Eros is what it sounds like, erotic. Um, so having that with your son, is pretty self-explanatory. And it's also kind of like artistic, poetic vibes. But yeah, it just yeah, I would say it's um there'd be like a level of like sexiness. Um Also, yeah, it can make one like really identify with that kind of sensual, like intense sensual nature. So like more of that kind of Scorpio moon side. And it's like really creative, and someone who might like really like love kind of like flaunting their artistic gifts, like showing them off. Um So yeah. Um, yeah, it's just like it's about like erotic kind of like fantasies and just like being able to kind of see um yeah, I'm not gonna get I don't really like to get into the sexual stuff because it's just weird. But yeah, it's definitely about that. I mean there's a theme there. And yeah, people with that they love being praised in like those types of situations. Um oh yeah, I'm trying to think what else. Yeah, I mean it can be linked to like different fetishes or different like things of that nature, like kinks. I don't know. Okay. Let's see here. Yeah, so Altair. Okay, so none on here. 18, 16. If you saw what I was looking at, you'd be like, how do you fucking tell the difference? Okay, Esme, chill. Mediation. Um, so oh, nice. Oh yeah, you have Alphecca on your moon. Okay, that's interesting. Um, so Alphecca is yeah, I should I don't know how I didn't notice that. So yeah, it's a great star. Very linked to like artistic ability. Again, we keep seeing this, right? Very idealistic and yeah. So with the moon, um, it can give like a lot of like public, potential public honor. Um, and yeah, it's a good one. It's a good one. But there are some issues like so I'm reading. I don't know. I have this book because like it's very hard to find information about these. But like what says public honor dignity suffers through the law. Once again, I brought that up about lawyers stuff, partners and neighbors, trouble through underhanded dealings of enemies. But these are like so old, these right? I don't know if I agree with all of them, right? Suffers through the underhanded dealings of enemies, but the eventual triumph over them. Um, bad for love affairs, some faithful friends, greatly esteemed by Venus and Mercury people. So yeah, like beautiful and smart people. And then the next one says honors and preferment, and then a splendid, illustrious life, great, distinguished, and opulent nature. So you see how they're all different. This book will tell me. Okay. Yeah, so Gemma is like the other name for it. So yeah, okay. So yeah, so there's like a Neptunian feel to it. Has a high northern inclination. Yeah, so artistic talents like love for literature, arts, and science. Okay, yeah, it says if conjunction with sun, moon, and well placed in a map, Gemma promises honors and preferment. Okay, and yeah, there's like a big poet that had it. Okay. Cool. All right. So then with what was yeah, so with Altair, also um mm, where was that one? Yeah. So yeah, so Quar is on your descendant, so that's just like kind of like the universe playing matchmaker for you. Once again, like something I touched on already. Um, yeah, it's like really good. Yeah, good for relationships. So then Altair, that's like a very I already know, that's a very good one for leadership. It's in Jupiter is gonna, have a very good effect on it. Let's see what it says. Mm, yeah, it's about like hardiness, courage, and generosity. Yeah, rise in life, high honors. Mm, let's see what it says. Oh, there it is. Yeah, so it just makes someone like very brave and leadership ability, ambitious. It's a good one. All right. How long? Did I go over 2 hours again? Fuck. Always doing this. Anyways, that is all, my friend. I hope you appreciate it. Um, this is, yeah, this is a very, it felt really, really good. So, you even see my eyes, kind of, huh? Yeah. So, okay, let me just check something really quick. Yeah. So we had the Astro cart coming and the follow up. Um, so yeah, we can talk then. If we already talked about this, I'm sorry. Um, but yeah, about the current astrology because that's really, really important to know about. Um, yeah, we'll have a follow up to this, and then Astro Cart. That'll be probably like, yeah, that will be what it will be. All right. Well, I'm happy I was able to get this to you um, early, very early, very fast. So yeah. All right. Ciao.